Mark here this afternoon, and Peter at the back, and Kevin, who've come here today. They're coming from the Nautical Archaeological Society. County, what do they do? That's what they do. Absolutely. That's a little bit about what they do. But Mark's going to tell you an awful lot more about what they did this afternoon and what they've been up to down the Doom Bar. Tom asked me why it's being videoed, so I'll tell you why it's being videoed. You are not being videoed. Mark's being videoed in front. Okay? And can you remember one of the things that I said was that this project isn't just our school that's going to be involved in. What else did I say is going to be happening? There's going to be a couple of schools in America hopefully involved in the project as well. And because they're in America and they don't really know what's going on in Padstow today, we're going to video it so we can put it on the internet so that the schools in America can have a look at the assembly this afternoon as well to find out a little bit about what's been going on too. So this video will be broadcast over the United States as well, which is fantastic. So, but you're not going to be in it, you're just going to be sitting quietly watching. Alright? Well, I might have some stars in later on the way. Mr. Watson, do you want some...
Sorry, I need Caitlin. Is that right?
Yes, Caitlin. Off you go. Well, you'll probably get back before the end of it, that's just
I'll save all the good bits till the end.
Okay, so, Mark, I'll hand over to you. Tell us a little bit more about what you're up to.
Afternoon, everybody. Well, I don't have to introduce myself because you know who I am already. We're a three-man team. We've come all the way from Portsmouth, Penzance and Plymouth to come to Padstow. We only work in places that begin with a P, nowhere else. And we've been here since we arrived on Monday. So we've been here for 4 days now. And after this, we're then going to leave and go back home. So we haven't been here long. It's my first time to Padstow. It's very nice. I've enjoyed myself, the hospitality of everybody. What we're going to do, we're going to keep you until about 2, if that's all right. Yeah? And we're going to show you a little bit about what we've been doing over the last few days. We're archaeologists. We know what archaeology is? What's archaeology? Discovering things, yeah. What sort of things do we want to discover? Old shipwrecks. Well, for us, particularly for over these 4 days, that's the one thing we've been interested in, but what else do archaeologists look for? Who's seen archaeology on television? Yeah? What's archaeology? What sort of things are we looking for? Dinosaur bones. Ooh, dinosaur bones. As archaeologists, we don't really look for dinosaur bones. That's even older. We're looking for things that people have made. So who can name a few things that we might find if we're digging for things? Roman pottery. So we're dealing with people in the past a long time ago. The Romans and pottery. What else? HMS Whiting. Well, we might have found HMS Whiting, but we might have not. But shipwrecks and the things that might be on a shipwreck. What might be on a shipwreck? What sort of things might be on a shipwreck? Dead bodies. Oh. You can. In this case, on HMS Whiting, we're not going to find any dead bodies because we know that nobody died when HMS Whiting came into Padstow for the last time. What else might be on HMS Whiting? What might we find? Squids. You might find squids. There's going to be lots of life. There's going to be lots of life swimming around down there underneath the water. But what else? What about the things that people would have had on board? Bombs? Kind of the old-fashioned bombs. We're going to be looking for big cannons. Yeah? Has anyone been up to Prideaux Place? And seen all the cannons that they've got there? They would have fired big cannonballs. Yeah? Like in the film. Right. They're going to be there might be some of those. A lot of them might not be there anymore. What else? A wheel? For driving? Yeah. We'd be really lucky if we found the wheel still there. Really lucky, but you need to have one. Otherwise, how does it know which way to go? Well, then, last one then. Well, let's do one more down here. Treasure. That's what you might find treasure. Now, HMS Whiting went on to the Doom Bar off of Padstow here on the 15th of September in 1816, and she didn't sink straight away. She was probably on there and she was decided that they couldn't get her off the sand for about a week. So she didn't really sink as such, so there's probably no treasure, unfortunately. Somebody probably took all that treasure off, which is a shame. Yeah? Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. I'll show you some pictures, I'll show you where we think she might be, lying on the sands. Okay, so we'll look at some maps, we'll look at some charts. I'll tell you a little bit about her, a bit of history, where she was built, and why the Americans, the children in America are involved. And then what we thought we'd then do is I've got a 10-minute video film to show, which we shot on our first day here on Tuesday when we were out on the boat. So it's a bit rough and ready. You know, I'm not Steven Spielberg, so we put it together very quickly so we can have it up on the internet the very next day. And then we'll let you up and you can come and have a look at the bits of kit that we've been using. Because I know you all want to know what these are. All these strange bits of kit that are on the front. Okay. So this is what we think HMS Whiting was. She's a ship, of course. A boat. Does anyone know what HMS stands for? Well, we know this already. Let's go for this one. Huge. Anything else? Huge, massive ship. Huge, massive ship. Yeah. Actually, it stands for Her Majesty's ship or His Majesty's ship, depending if we had a king or a queen. Okay. But I like huge, massive ship, and I think we'll use that in future. We think she looked a little bit like this in terms of when she would have been sailing. I know it's a very basic drawing. We don't have any photographs of her. We didn't have photography back then. But there might be some drawings. We've still got to go looking around all the museums. We've got to go through looking all the records, through all the history books, to see if we can find what she might really have looked like. Now, she was built in America in a place called Baltimore. And it's school kids in a school in Baltimore that are interested in her as well. Because although she's now in Padstow, she wasn't always in Padstow. She was built there, and she was built in 1811. Okay, she was launched in December. It would have been nice and cold, sticking her in the water. And she was built by a man called Thomas Kemp, who was very good at building ships. He built loads of ships by the time he was building this. And it wasn't called HMS Whiting, because it was American. It wasn't the King or the Queen's. What do you think it's called? The Arrow. Nice name for a ship, because it was fast. It was slim in the water. It went really fast with all those sails. Good name. And it was made for $8,000. Now, to you, $8,000 probably sounds like a lot. £8? No, not much. It's nearly £8,000. It's not quite £8,000, but it's American dollars and 8,000. Now it doesn't actually mean a lot. You couldn't buy a car. Well, you could buy some cars, but you couldn't buy a reasonable car for that much money. Whereas back in 1811, you could build a whole ship for that much money. Now, she was an American ship, and she was trading, she was selling goods to and from France, between France and America, during a time where we, in Britain here, we were struggling at war. We're about to have a war with America. Yeah? So we captured the Arrow, yeah, in May of 1812. Okay, 8th of May. So that's the 20th of May now, just off the anniversary. She was captured by an American ship, captured by a British ship, a British frigate called HMS Andromage. Nice name. Now then, so we had us in 1812, and our Navy would have quite liked that Arrow. She was a new kind of ship that had been built. She's fast. We like fast ships. We want to go chasing off pirates. We want to go chasing off the Americans, chasing off the French. So we liked the look of her. So she probably would have been quite useful to our Navy to see how she was built. So we used her until 1816. How many years is that? Look back. 4 years. So we had her for about 4 years, and then, unfortunately, the Royal Navy, Captain Atkinson, who was the captain at the time, ran her into Padstow when he shouldn't have done. Padstow is actually quite a nasty harbour to come into. Has anyone been out of Padstow Harbour on a boat? Yeah, quite a lot. It's full of sand everywhere. Yeah, absolutely covered in sand. And when the tide goes out, and all that water goes out to the ocean, and you end up with all that sand, you could easily stick a boat onto that sand. So Captain Atkinson should have waited. He shouldn't have gone in to Padstow. He should have waited for a man called a pilot to come out who knew the waters really well. Do you know your house really well? Yeah. Could you walk around your house with your eyes closed and know where you were? Yeah. Which room you're in? Yeah, and then Mum says go up, left and right, and then would you know what room you're in? Yeah. So if you do, if you're one of the people that does know that, why do you know that? You've been in it lots of times. You've been in it maybe your whole life if you've never moved house. So you know your way around really well. And that's what the pilot did. The pilot, he knew those waters like the back of his hand, yeah? He knew all the little veins and all the little channels that you could get a boat into. Captain Atkinson didn't, so he should have waited. But he didn't. He was impatient. He was in a gale. He was in a storm. His ship was getting battered, and he wanted to get in as quickly as he could. So instead of waiting, he went for it. And unfortunately, that was his undoing. He got stuck on the sand. There wasn't enough water. He went the wrong way, and he drove the ship right into the sandbank. And he couldn't get it off. Okay? So that was on the 15th of September in 1816. Now, they tried, and they tried, and they tried to get it off, because you would, wouldn't you? Yeah, you tried to get it off. It's worth a lot of money. We've only had it for 4 years. It's probably in quite good nick. It's only been built, 5 years ago. So you probably want to get it off. It's worth a lot of money. But they tried for about a week to try to get it off before abandoning all hope of taking it off the sand. So they were probably taking everything off it that they could. The treasure was gone. No treasure on there probably anymore. Some of the big guns, the cannon that would have fired the cannonballs, some of those were probably taken off. Maybe all of them. We don't know. Anyway. A few years later, 1827 and in 1830, the local people of Padstow, they didn't like this wreck being there because it was sitting up on the sands when the tide was going out. Yeah, sitting up on the sands, they're still upright, and unfortunately it was a hazard to other ships that were trying to get in and out of Padstow, so they wanted to get it blown up. Have you been seen in the papers recently here in Padstow? They've been blowing up ships? Yeah, in the papers? That sort of thing. Exactly the same sort of thing was happening, or trying to happen, back in 1827 and 1830. We think they didn't actually remove it. We don't think they were able to salvage it, to take it off the sand, and it's probably to this day still there. But unfortunately, we don't know. But that's what we've been doing over the last 3 days or 4 days, been trying to find it. So, you know where you are, don't you? Yeah? In Padstow? You know where you are in the country? Down here? Yeah? In Cornwall? Yeah? So zooming in a bit. Obviously, in Padstow, down here in the town. So you're up here somewhere, aren't you? Yeah. The bit that we're interested in is that big green patch over there. Can you see my little red pointer on the screen? That big green patch, sorry, that's what we're interested in. Yeah? This is the big sandbar that moves around, that the ships get caught on. A ship swallower, you might think, might call it. Now, it hasn't always looked like that. This is what it sort of looks like today when the tide goes out. That green stuff is the yellow sand. I don't know why it's not yellow. Pick why is it not yellow? That's the colour it should be. You've made it green.
I'll fix it.
Fix it, make it yellow. Anyway, and the land which is yellow should be green.
I'll fix that too.
Exactly. Okay, so we think HMS Whiting is somewhere where the red thing is in the middle, my laser pointer, that red bit there, in the middle where the dot is. And I'll tell you why we think it's there. Okay. There we go, zoom in, see a little bit. So do people know these places? Have you anyone been up here? Up on the top there, on Stephen Point, there's a big sort of lookout post, isn't there? Big tower. Yeah? Yeah, now that's put in there, that was put in there in 1826, 27, I think. So to try to allow ships to see it, so they would know that they were near Padstow and they had to go around it and come into the harbour. When they were a long way out at sea, land looks like land. It doesn't matter where you are, it all looks the same. So they build landmarks on the coast so the ships and the captains looking through their telescopes know they're near Padstow. Okay, so that's called Stephen Point up there, isn't it? Yeah, everyone knows Stephen Point. And then there's all these other little places. Hawker's Cove. There's a very nice little tea house down there. We had tea and ice cream there the other day. Very nice. And we've walked here. We've walked all the way around this cliff edge, all the way along on the coastal path that now runs along here, down to Harbour Cove. Very nice. Right. So we're on this side. Now, whoa, satellite images. You've been on Google Earth. You've got the internet. You're on Google Earth. Yeah? You can see what our country looks like from space, and you can zoom in and see your own garden and all sorts of things. Yeah, I can see the trampoline in my garden. It's great. Now, this is what Padstow looks like from Google Earth. Well, our little area, Padstow's actually down here. You can't see Padstow, but that's the little area that we're interested in. These sandbars from Google Earth. Sometimes they shoot it. They take the pictures at low tide, and every now and then they update it and they put new pictures on, and that's at high tide. But of course, we want to see it when all the sand's there, when the water's all gone out. Yeah? So, but it hasn't always looked like this. This is what it looks like now. Nice like that, when the tide's gone out, you can walk on the sand. You know, we go obviously wearing the right safety equipment, so don't go walking out in the sand unless you're with your mum and dad or somebody else. And in the old days, so back in the 1800s, 1816, when Arrow, or what, sorry, when HMS Whiting was coming up into Padstow, it didn't look like that. It looked completely different. Now, if you're on a boat today, you go down the channel down the middle. That channel there is where you come in through the nice window. Okay? That's where the boats come in and out. But back in 1816, you used to come down right down that cliffside, right down that edge. That was where the channel was. That's where the pilot, the man whose job it was to bring you into Padstow, that's where he would bring you along that cliff edge. Narrow little channel. You've got sand on one side, yeah, and you've got cliff on the other side. And you're in a gale. It's blowing, absolutely horrible weather. And you've got to get down that little channel, and you may not have been into Padstow before. Okay, so it's actually not surprising that Captain Atkinson, unfortunately, ran it into the Doom Bar, the big sand bar. Now, the bit we really like is the bit on the top there, right on the top of this sandbar. This is the sand up here, and it's called a ketch. I don't know why it's called a ketch. Don't know. Might be a ship. Used to catch ships, maybe it could have been come from catch. Became called the ketch accidentally. Now, we know from historical accounts, historical records, people writing at the time of the loss of HMS Whiting, that it ran aground onto the sand, what they call the ketch. So we have it on a chart, the ketch. The historical records say it ran onto the ketch. So this is where we think it's likely that the best chance of finding HMS Whiting now is today. Now I said it's a ship swallower. Doombar, or Dunbar Sands, it's known as Doombar nowadays, is called that for a reason. What does doom mean? There's someone who hasn't answered one. Let's go for you. Doom. If you're doomed?
Death.
Death. Yeah, it means, yeah, if something's doomed, yeah, it's not going to happen, it's not going to work, it's going to fail, it's going to die, whatever. Okay? So it's called the Doom Bar for a good reason, because each one of these little pictures of boats is a boat that we know has been sunk or lost on the Doom Bar. So we've got to work out which one's ours. Okay, from all of those. It's not called the Doom Bar for nothing. So this has been described as searching for a needle in a haystack, one special little needle in a full haystack of other needles. And we're looking for one needle that we can't even see with our own eyes, and we can't even touch it because it's underneath the sand. How are we going to do that then? How do you think we're going to do it? Anyone? Metal detector, like it. Brilliant, metal detector. And in fact, that's what we'll look at in a second. One of these, this, is a metal detector. It's not the sort of one you might have seen that somebody holds in their hand, waving across the stand. This is one that we tow behind a boat. But it's a bigger, more powerful metal detector that will find metal objects underwater. Okay, how else might we do it? As a geophysicist in the making here, we can use sound. We can send sound through the water, which comes back to us like an echo. And if there's objects in the water, if there's metal objects, there's wooden objects in the water, yeah, that can then send a signal back to us and tell us that something's not quite right. It's not sand, because it's different to sand. It'll come back to us. And that is what these two things can do for us. Okay? So we'll come on to those in a second. Okay, how else might you find it?
An underwater camera?
An underwater, well, going underwater might be one way of finding it. Anyone scuba diving here?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Kevin, Peter and I are all scuba divers. And what we're hoping, we haven't done it yet, we didn't do it this week, but what we're hoping to do this year is to just go and dive in the water. To go and see. Put on our scuba gear, jump in the water and go and see, could we actually see anything? Could we even touch something that could be HMS Whiting? And there's one other way. We could, if we're lucky, if we get the right tides, we could go and find out. Do you think?
You know, wouldn't HMS Whiting made of wood?
Ah, but what's a cannon?
Metal, they might put in.
They might have, but we don't know. You also get fastenings that join the ship all together way we do it, if the tide goes out, we might be able, if we're lucky, if we get the right tide, the right, so that enough water goes out, we might even be able to walk there. It's all underwater now. But if we're very lucky, we could literally walk on it and stand where HMS Whiting is, dig a hole in the sand. He was what you were going to say, wasn't it? Sorry. Dig a hole in the sand and see it. Actually touch it and take a sample of it and see whether or not we can find out if that is HMS Whiting. So we'll see this picture. This is in the museum. You've been to Padstow Museum? Been to the museum in your town? Is that a school trip or been with mum and dad? Yeah? This picture's on the wall. If you go there again, yeah, go in upstairs and then have a look on the wall, and you'll see this picture. This is where we're searching. This is Stepper Point. Here, that's the end. There's that big landmark there, big tower that people have been up to on the hill. And along here, there's lots of features. There's winches for bringing boats in. And this is the channel that the ships would have come into Padstow. And down there, see that little thing there, where the red dot is? That is said to be, where are we? Wreck number 11, wreck of HM Schooner Whiting. Stern appearing above water, spring tides. What stern is, what stern means? Stern, what stern is? At the back? No, not the front. The back. Well, it was the front. It's going to be the back, wasn't it? Yeah. So the front or the back? Okay. So what's the front called then? What the front's called?
All sailors, you should know that.
No. What's left and right? Bow. Brilliant. Yeah, this is where the sailors, those who go sailing. So the bow at the front, the stern at the back, the port on the left, and the starboard on the right. Okay? So we know it says here, in this illustration, this drawing, that the back end, the stern of HMS Whiting was showing above the sands, okay, in this drawing. So what we've done, and I say we in the loosest sense, because actually it's Pete that's done this for us as part of our team, is what Pete's done is he's taken today's coastline from the charts and the maps, he's taken the Google Earth images, he's taken the old charts, and he's put one on top of another on top of another, to then try and work out where HMS Whiting is and where we should be looking. So remember this Google Earth image? The outline, the white stuff is on the land, and then we've got our channel coming in here, and the sand. What we can do to that is overlay on top of it the chart. Yeah, this is actually a chart from about 1826, if I remember rightly. And that shows Stepper Point up here, where our HMS Whiting is. And over the top of that, we can say this is where we want to search. This is where we want to look. It's the most likely place. We don't know, but it's the most likely place it could be. Right, so, how do we search? What did we say we were going to do? Metal detector, sonar, yeah, that's going to show us pictures of what's on the seabed, diving in hopefully when we go back, and also going to walk on it with those tides. So, which one was this one? This is the metal detector. I'm going to be very careful keeping up dropping. Okay, this is for weightlifting exercises. This is a metal detector. This is called a magnetometer. But that's just a posh word for anything else, realistically. Okay? And we towed this behind the boat. You couldn't carry it on the ground and searching for metal with this because it's far too heavy. Okay? So, who has a compass? Who owns a compass? You know a compass? What does a compass do? What does it point to? North, south, east and west. Okay. So we know they're north, south, east and west? Which way's north from here? Anyone know? That way, is it? So which way's south? So which way's... Okay, so if north is that way, south is that way, which way's east? Yeah? So that means, which way is that? Okay. Okay, so your compass points to, where does it point to? Where's the arrow? Point in the direction of north. Why does it do that? Why when you spin round, does it always point north? You know it. No. Yeah, you definitely use it so you know which direction you're going in. Do you know what it's called?
Whichever way you turn,
Whichever way you turn.
it always turns.
Whichever way you turn. It always stays. Cool. Magnetism. We've got magnets. We've got magnets. Fridge magnet. We're sticking notes on the fridge. Yeah? Yeah? Exactly. It's pointing to north because our Earth has its own, what's called a magnetic field. It's like a big magnet. Okay? The needle will always point towards north. Now, if you get a compass, if you've got a compass, go and put it next to some metal that's iron. Iron gates, iron railings, iron whatever. And see if it still points north, whether it moves slightly. Because things that are made of iron affect that magnet, affect that compass. So what this is doing is it's being choked behind the back of the boat, going a couple of knots, 2 knots, about 2 or 3 miles an hour, travelling on the water. It's being towed behind us, and it's travelling on the water, and it's looking for this magnetism. It's looking for metal objects underwater. Okay? And what it can show us, this is our little plot of our search that we did on our first day. The yellow lines, all the little yellow squiggles, that look like some sort of snake going along the sea, okay, that's where we've been towing. And what we're really interested in is those little red dots, or the ringlets, which is where there's metal under the seabed. And that metal could be lying on the sea or it could be under the sand. We don't know yet because we haven't dived in the water, which is what we want to do next. But we're interested in those targets. And what's fantastic, and Pete's really proud of this is quite interesting here, that's where we think HMS Whiting was, based on our estimation, or Pete's estimation. And that big target in the middle, right there, is very close. Yeah? Well, that 20 metres away?
25 metres.
25 metres away from where we roughly think HMS Whiting could be. I think that was a good day's work. Okay, so what we're really interested in is these little red patches, and today we've been back into the water on the boat, taking more soundings or taking more magnetometer readings to really strengthen where those are, so that we can literally take the boat across, throw a rope over, go down and land on them as divers in those places and see what they are. Okay, so that's the magnetometer. Now, this one here, what does this look like? Bomb. Yeah, submarine. It's like a little mini submarine. A jetpack. Stick that in your back. Okay. This is the sonar. This is called a side scan sonar. And again, we're towing this behind the boat. Okay, so we throw it in the water, and we tow it behind the boat. And coming out of the sides of it, at the back of the things at the back, that one there, that black patch there, and then turn it over to the other black patch there. What comes out of there, do you think? Not magnetism. We're not doing magnets anymore. Yeah?
Sonar.
Sonar. What is sonar?
Is it something like a scan or radar?
Almost. Correct. It's not sending out radio waves though, it's sending out boom. What's that? Noise, sound. It's sending out sound underwater. It's sending out sound that way, and it's sending out sound the other way. So it's sending out sound from the two sides of it. And what happens when you talk, when you make a sound? Echo. Now, strangely enough, if you could talk underwater and you make a sound, it would also echo. Sound travels in water better than it travels on land. If you were underwater scuba diving, you could hear a boat further away than you would if you were on the surface. If the same amount of noise was made, you'd hear it better underwater because it travels better and faster underwater. Okay, so it's sending out sound either side, and that sound is echoed back off the seabed. Yeah? It hits the seabed and comes back to it. And what that can then do is that the time it takes for that sound to go down there and then come back up again, yeah, that time, yeah, you can turn that into a picture of what's on the seabed. It's measuring the time to turn it into a picture, and we can then start to see lumps and bumps on the seabed. Lumps and bumps that could be HMS Whiting, if we were really lucky. So, you have to believe me here, because I know it's not that easy to see, but lump of bump. Okay, what we're looking at now is the red bits here. There's a lump there, see that lump there, lump there, lump there, lump there, lump there, lump there, lump there. There's a few lumps around. Unfortunately, where HMS Whiting is, we haven't yet been able to use the side scan sonar on it. For a number of reasons. One, in all honesty, don't tell anyone else, including you Americans, the side scan sonar didn't work for us. We couldn't get it to work. Things that are electric and need electricity, and things that are wet that have water on them, don't go well together. They tend to break very easily. We couldn't get it to work. So some colleagues at Peters had done that for us earlier on, last month. So we need to go back. So we need to come back to Padstow again and try and get the side scan sonar in much closer to where we think HMS Whiting is. But what it has done is it's got a nice one there and a nice one over here, which are also found on the metal detector. Right. The last one is this one. What does this look like? A lamp, yeah. So, shine some light down. We're not going to shine light underwater though. What else does it look like? A flying saucer. Yeah, kind of. A hat. Go on. A loudspeaker. A stereo speaker. If this was in your car, this would be really loud. Big loudspeaker. You'd have booming bass coming out of that. This is, again, this is a big sonar. And this is called a sub-bottom profiler. Now, if a side scan sonar is sending out a this is sending out a boom. Yeah? This is what we call a much lower frequency of sound. It's much lower and deeper. Which means it's going to not only hit the seabed, it's also going to go through the seabed. This could allow us to see through the sand and to see objects that are buried underneath the sand where we think HMS Whiting is. So, it looks a little bit like this. So the blue bit on the top is our water up here. And we're travelling at the top, that's the water, that's the seabed with a little divot, a little hollow in the sand. And then it's also coming through the sand and showing other features underneath. Now this is all a bit scientific for me, to be honest. This is Peter's domain and Kevin's domain. Yeah, I don't really know what this does, but hopefully, if we can then see these little lumps and bumps underneath, that one there particularly, underneath the sand, it's possible that that could be the wreckage of HMS Whiting still under the sand, if we're really lucky. So, what have we found out? We found out that electronics and water don't really go together. Electricity and water. What else have we found out? Anyone? Don't really? Roughly, yeah. I have to say, in all honesty, over 4 days we found roughly where we think it is. And can you remember how many of those red spots there were? Yeah? 4 or 5 big red spots when we were using the magnetism, when we were using the magnetometer. 4 or 5 good red spots. That's the next thing we need to do. We need to go and dive on those 4 or 5 red spots to go and see what they are. We need to go and see if there's anything on the seabed, and we need to go and see whether or not, if we went when there was no water and we dug a hole, would we find the wreck of HMS Whiting? What would we be likely to find? What was it made of again? Somebody knew what it was made of. Wood. Right, hang on. Made of wood, so that's what we're looking for. Timber. Where was it made? America. We're looking for American timber. American wood. It wouldn't be a Padstow ship. It wouldn't be built in Padstow if it was made of American timber, would it? So what we need to do now is go and dig a hole in those locations, see if we can sample the timber, so take some slice of the timber out of it, and see if we can work out whether that timber has come from America or whether it's come from England. Because different trees grow in different countries, make different ships, and what we're looking for is a nice bit of timber called American black locust, to see whether or not that's HMS Whiting that sank in 1816. Right. Who wants to touch the kit? You got 5 minutes? Yeah? 5 minutes.
I like you would, before doing that, see if anyone's got any questions.
Oh, of course.
Because then we could do that as people sort of leave and make their way back.
Yeah, we can file out.
Yeah. What we can do is, well, have a chance for any questions, and then maybe each one of you takes a piece of kit to a different corner
Oh
of the
yeah,
hall.
there's 3 of us.
People can spread around a little bit, have a little look, and then they can go back to their classroom and have a look. So if there are any questions first, as well. Kelsey who tells me she's going to be a nautical archaeologist when she's older,
Yeah.
has got a question.
Go on then.
If we find any other sites that is like, take an example of them.
Yeah, if we want to, let's say, rule out, we want to say, well, this one isn't HMS Whiting. If it's made of wood, then we'll take a sample of that wood, and if that wood turns out to be English oak from a nice big English oak tree, which is what a lot of ships are made from in England, then that would tell us how that was not HMS Whiting. So we'll cross that one off the list and move on to the other ones. That would be brilliant. If all of them turn out to be wooden, we can sample all of them, and only one of them is American. Yes! We are victorious. Question?
They use those ships up.
Yeah.
Well, could all the ones that stand everywhere?
It could be. It could be. The wreck that they've been trying to blow up this year, March I think was when it went kaboom. Actually, they tried blowing that up, and most of it is still there. It made very little difference to the timber. And that one is probably a bit later. It's a little bit younger than HMS Whiting. It would have done some damage. Some bits would have gone that way, and some bits would have gone that way. But the bit that's buried in the sand, you know, it ran into the sandbar. That bit that's in the sand, that is probably all still there. Even if they blew up the rest of the outside of it, the bit that's in the bottom of in the sand is probably still there. But hand on heart, you don't know. So that's a good question. How do I wear my glasses when I'm scuba diving? That's a good question. I have 2 ways. One is I have a mask that I can stick completely over my head and wear my glasses inside it. The other way is that my scuba diving goggles, or mask, that I stick over my face, has special lenses in it that are exactly the same as my glasses. I got those in my 3rd year of diving after I got on the wrong boat after a dive, because I couldn't see. And I got onto the wrong boat, and I looked at the guy driving the boat, he looked at me, and I went, I don't recognise you, he went, I don't recognise you, and I had to go swim to a different boat. Then I put lenses in my goggles so I could see properly. Anything else?
Well, if you use the magnet, wouldn't you find all the other ships as well?
We could find not just ships, the lobster fishermen, the men that fish up for lobsters and crabs and other things out there. A lot of the cages or the pots they use are made from iron, made from metal. So we find those. Other bits of rubbish that have unfortunately been thrown over and been disposed of at sea, we'll find those. Other bits of ships, we'll find those. We'll find lots. We don't know that those 5 big red solid targets or sites are shipwrecks. They may not be shipwrecks. We've got to actually get in there and see them with our own eyes, because until you see it, until you touch it, you don't know.
Is there a chance you'll find another famous ship in there?
There could be. I've all remember the map with all the ships on it. Could be any of those. Yeah, we have to go through a question of saying which one it's not, to then hopefully work out which one it is. But yeah, we could find loads of shipwrecks. Maybe some of them to Padstow might be more important than HMS Whiting.
Possible. What we'll do, I know there's still some questions left, but you're going to have your chance to ask those in just a second anyway. So if we put our hands down. So, after the 3-day search, do we know where the Whiting is now, whether it's there? Maybe. It's still a bit of a maybe. We've got a possible target. We know a little bit more about exactly where it might be in the sand. But the great news is these guys are going to go back, do a little bit more exploration on another date, and hopefully we'll know a bit more about it by then. And maybe even, if it's spring low tides, we might send some of you guys down and we'll walk out to the spot and maybe see if we can have a look as well. So all those things are possible in the future. But the good news is, we don't know that it's definitely not there. It might be there, which is fantastic.